I have just discovered. No, this is why we're rusty. We've got to do it again. I have just discovered game-breaking tech. And by discovered, I mean that in like the Christopher Columbus sort of sense, as in it's already existed for a very long time and other players have exclusively implemented this tech. And I'm just now coming around, pulling my head out of the sand and actually employing this for the first time, not even due to my own discoveries or research myself. I was told directly how to do this by other more informed lab monsters and technicians than myself. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about some jump cancel SOCD shenanigans with leverless controllers. So that sounded like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to like 99% of the viewers watching this. So let's get into the details about what's going on here. So once upon a time, I was new to the leverless controller craze, right? I actually started off playing arcade stick. I played stick for like a decade. Then I picked up hitbox about maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, to play a little character called Oro in Street Fighter V, a charge character, because I felt leverless controllers like hitbox with all buttons instead of an arcade stick were definitely advantageous compared to using an arcade stick for those characters. And it worked. I mean, after a week of using this controller and flying by the seat of my pants and barely knowing what I'm doing and like, you know, second guessing everything I'm doing, feeling like I'm on a unicycle about to fall over at any moment, I won a tournament. That's not clickbait. This literally did happen. It might not have been the most stacked tournament, but I did win a tournament after a week. But the journey to learn this controller was actually very long and very tedious and required a lot of relearning and a lot of practice to unlock the advantages of the controller for the character I was playing. The main advantage I was going for was the instant flash kick. So if you can see this example here from the Hitbox Arcade indexes here, where they covered a lot of the techniques leverless controllers and Hitbox, their brand, can do. Instant flash kick involved this technique where you can hold down or down back to build your charge, and then to do the flash kick, rather than having to like move an arcade stick from down to neutral to up and then press kick and up at the same time to make the flash kick happen, the anti-air, you could just tap with your right hand the jump button, which is down, the big one where he's tapping with his right thumb, and your kick button, and that would instantaneously activate the flash kick, which means you would go directly from crouching to a flash kick state. Whereas on arcade stick, you would go from down to neutral to up, which means you'd actually be standing for a frame, which means there was times where you can get hit on that one frame where you were standing, or there were certain situations where you literally could not use the flash kick to go underneath certain fireballs or jump ins, because it was just impossible. Unless you did the move extremely fast on arcade stick, there was things that were exclusively available to leverless at the time. However, all this changed heading into Street Fighter 6, and I made a big video about this as well. This is one of the highest performing videos on my channel. Funny enough, this video still gets a lot of views to this day. Capcom, near Street Fighter 6's released a statement saying they were going to change the rules of what they allowed for SOCD. So that is mumbo jumbo that is explained in this video, but to give the quick version of it, I still have the diagrams from that video. On Hitbox at the time, if you press left and right at the same time, Hitbox itself would not send these inputs. It would send neutral to the game, and Street Fighter V would see neutral, of course. But if you inputted up and down at the same time, which is another impossible input on arcade stick, it would send up. The hardware would overwrite the input and give you up to the machine, and then the game would eventually just see up. So up plus down equals up on Hitbox. Pad would just send the inputs raw. So if you press left and right, using like the D-pad and the analog stick at the same time, it would send left and right at the same time to the software, and the software would have to make decisions about that. So in Street Fighter 6, what they decided is, if you ever send us any SOCD inputs left and right at the same time or up and down at the same time, on the software side, we're going to give you neutral. It's going to cancel it out. But we can't do that if your hardware is doing this cleaning for us. So what did they say? They said, hey, coming to Street Fighter 6, make it so that your hardware does not make up and down equal up. It should be neutral, or send both at the same time to the software, and we'll give you neutral. So the updated version of this is, if you send left and right or up and down at the same time on Hitbox, they updated it. It just sends neutral, right? It got rid of that up and down equals up shenanigan for Street Fighter 6. So now anytime you do an opposite direction, it cancels it out and just sends neutral. And that has implications. That means instant flash kick is no longer possible, right? They got rid of that technique, which was like one of the primary reasons why I was using Hitbox to begin with, because I play charge characters. But what Capcom doesn't realize is they're unleashing a new world of SOCD tricks, because now you can do certain things where instead of getting up when you press up and down, you get neutral. There's actually things you can do to exploit that as well. So people were theory crafting that in the beginning of the Street Fighter 6 before the game even came out based on this rule change. But, you know, I didn't play hitbox at the time, so I didn't really think about it. Well, move forward to today, I went back to hitbox because my arcade stick parts were not working. So after Evo, I literally went back to Leverless because I was tired of having sticks not working and I had a working hitbox. And I didn't think too much about it with JP because he doesn't have a DP. But coming to Ed, if you've been following my journey, I was struggling so hard because I cannot execute DP on hitbox, his anti-air move. First of all, it's a 10 frame DP, it doesn't have a lot of range, so the DP itself is a little bit of a struggle, but even then I couldn't execute it reliably, so I was struggling so much to learn this input, an input I could do reliably on arcade stick, and that's when people started recommending, oh, do the SOCD jump input. So I started picking that up, and if you noticed the last Ed session, I could anti-air very consistently with DP with the first implementation of the SOCD jump input. So what does that look like? All right, let's see. So, okay, let's get a little funny. Okay, here we go. I had to put my socks on too, no feet for free. So traditionally doing a DP, it's forward, down, down, forward. So like a traditional way to just input the DP raw would be something like, you know, just forward, down, down, forward, just inputting the regular inputs. And that's fine, but it can be very difficult to achieve that depending on what state you're in. Like if you're crouching, that means you have to release these buttons, then press forward, then release and press down, then forward. So it's actually a pretty cumbersome action, especially when you get on this side. I don't know if this is 100% factual, fact check me on this, but I heard that genetically it's determined if your middle finger and ring finger share some tendons or bones. It can be very difficult to move these very distinctly and independently, and that varies from person to person, is what I've read. And I definitely think I have that because it's so difficult for me to move these fingers precisely and independently. So doing things on this side that involve like holding my middle finger down and moving my ring finger and vice versa, and using these very elegantly and limberly, it's not good for me. So doing stuff like DP on this side, say I'm crouching like that, forward, down, down, forward, this is a recipe for disaster for me. Like doing this with these two fingers right here, I can feel things crunching on my hand. It doesn't feel good. So player one side, I was like, this is okay. And you can also do the forward, down, forward input. So if you're already walking forward, this is amazing. If you're already walking forward, but it has the same problem. If you're holding down back and then you're trying to get into it, you have to kind of do a lot of releasing and then make sure you do that. And also time your button with the button release. And every time you release a button, it's weaker and less accurate than pressing a button. So same thing on this side. If you're walking forward, this is easy. But if you're holding down back and you have to go to it, it can be a little cumbersome. So this is where the first jump SOCD input comes into play. And this is what leveled up my uppercut game. Instead of doing all this, you know, like, or the crouching DP where you're jiggling a bunch. And I find that very imprecise as well to do on reaction. Jump SOCD DP, forward, down, forward, forward. The magic. So remember what I said previously, down and up would give you up, down and up now give you neutral, which means if you're holding down forward with these two buttons and you press up, that gives you forward, down, forward, forward, down, forward, forward. Anytime you can eliminate a button release and replace it with the button press, it's more accurate for your hands. So what does the DP turn into? Forward, down, forward, and punch. Forward, down, forward, and punch. One swift, continuous rolling motion that is extremely ergonomic for my hands and so easy to do. So you can be moving around at any moment and just, you know, from whatever position, and then just do this rolling. So easy. And so I started using this on player 2 side because I found it easier on player 2 side to roll this direction. But with a little bit of practice, I realized it's better all around, even on this side. You know, I just roll my middle, index middle, and then just like this. So you incorporate your right hand to do the jump activation with the punch button, so it synchronizes and it has the least amount of delay. And there you go. This alone, this input change, increased my ability to DP like 300%. Still takes practice. I did practice this input a lot, but I found this so much more consistent. And of course, there's still times to do the crouching variation or like the forward variation. It depends on the context. With Leverless, everything is context dependent. There's a million ways to input any special move, and when you do that depends on what context you're in, like what you're previously doing. If I'm already walking forward, I'm probably just going to do this. Like if I'm in a combo, for example, if I'm in this combo, I'm probably going to do my DP like that, because I'm just going to hold forward the whole time during OD Snatcher, and then just, you know, do this. because I have time to buffer it. It's very easy. But if I'm in neutral and I need to react in a split second, I'm probably going to do the jump SOCD version, right? So you have to learn how to do your inputs so many different ways based on the context that you're in. And that, while it's all more ergonomic when you master that, it's a lot more to think about than on arcade stick, where you kind of just, for the most part, you just do the input. So jump SOCD definitely saved my ability to play Ed to a degree, because now I can actually do DPs, because the other inputs were not working for me and I was grinding them hard. I'm sure with more practice I could get more consistent, but jump SOCD, it got me in the game with Ed. However, there was another hurdle on the horizon which really got me to think even more about how I'm using this leverless controller, more so than I have in quite some time. And that is, of course, due to this combo here. So you might have seen this on Twitter. This combo is pretty cool. I was messing with the Ed level 2 desync stuff, and I figured out this punish here. So that combo is pretty sick. I was very proud to figure that out, because the level 2 stuff with Ed is very setup specific. So basically the punish you do, or the combo you do to initiate the level 2 desync combo, completely influences what options you have and what routes you can go for, right? I spent a lot of time in the lab to find something that was stable. However, what you might not realize is the hardest part of this combo by far was this part right here, whiff light punch into level 2. It's so subtle, but that light punch is a frame kill and then do it into the level 2. That took me so many attempts to be able to do that. And I was like, am I really going to never be able to do these combos because I can't do whiff light punch into level 2? What you have to do in order to achieve that is you have to press a lot of inputs very quick and synchronize them with multiple hands. So for this combo, in this moment, you have to whiff the light punch, and then on top of that, you have to buffer quarter circle back. The way I was doing it was I was doing the regular SOCD super input, which is down, down, back, back, hold right, then press left plus down at the same time, which gives you down. It cancels out the left and right, then release, which gives you right again. So that is you do a natural quarter circle back, down, back. However, doing whiff light punch and then doing that whole entire input during that time frame that you have in the recovery from the light is so difficult, because at no point can I press light punch besides before the super starts. If I press the light punch while doing back here after the first quarter circle, I'm gonna get the blitz. So I have to whiff the light and then complete that whole super input. And that was too late, and it has to be frame tight. There it is, I got it right there. That was it. Got it again. Okay. I got it pretty decent on player 2 side, and which is why I demoed that on player 2 side. However, let's bring it over here. This is where things fell apart. Doing this combo conversion on this side, that wasn't frame tight enough. That was a frame off. Oh, I got it. I can't believe I got it in that few tries. I literally grinded that input for at least 6, 7, 8 hours total, 9 hours total across 2 days. I was like grilling this input, and I could not do it on player 1 side. And I thought, man, these combos are so sick. Am I really going to get gate kept from being able to do these combos in real matches because I can't input super like this? And then I was talking to Javits about it, and he's like, wait a minute, my friend. So if you don't know, Javits has been going down a leverless journey. He's actually been doing a lot of stuff. He's doing a lot of shenanigans. This is him right now doing leverless standing 720s. That's 1 standing 720. That's 2 standing 720s. 3 standing 720s. So he's been on this hitbox grind for a little while now, figuring out the most optimal way to input crazy stuff. So I was talking with him, and he said, wait a minute, let me open your eyes to the way you should be doing this super.
Hey, what's up, Brian? So just want to show you real quick the way I do supers on Leverless, and basically buttons into supers. So the way I described it is basically I'm holding down the whole time, like this. Then with my left index finger, I'm doing right, and then jump. That gives me the first quarter circle. It's like this. And then all I gotta do is release, right and up, and then press right and up and punch. So it's like.
So with that first shortcut, I watched that and I didn't internalize the inputs that much. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, maybe this seems like a lot of work. Do I really want to relearn my super inputs? I spent a lot of time grinding the traditional left-right SOCD super input. And I was like, it looks nice, but whatever. You know, I wasn't really convinced of anything. I was still bemoaning the fact that I would never be able to do cool Ed level 2 combos.
While holding down, I'll press forward and punch, then jump, release, and then press them together. So it's like.
So when he showed me this one, I was like, okay, that's nifty. But my problem isn't doing it from a crouching button. My problem is that it's a standing button, and then I have to crouch immediately after, and that shaves off precious frames for being able to do this in time. So I was like, okay, you know, whatever. I'm still not convinced yet. Still not convinced.
This time, to get the standing normal using the SOCD, I'll hold, but while holding down, I'll press jump plus punch. So see, that gives me standing normals.
And here's where the gear started turning.
So, you do this. And if I want to do it in a combo from a crouching normal, this. And from a standing, hold on.
Once he demonstrated the simple idea of activating your standing button by using the up plus down SOCD, I nearly, I wanted to bang my head on the desk. It's so obvious. It's so stupid and so simple. It made everything click. I said, wait a minute. I could be holding down the whole time and just use the SOCD button to then prep myself to do the super input. And that's when I said, I'm going to do this right now. And it clicked. It clicked. So I still have to memorize this input, so occasionally I forget it. But essentially, he showed it right there. It's so stupid. It's so simple. To do the super input, it's just doing, it's just kind of doing a quarter circle forward, right? Like doing down, down, forward. SOCD on the down gives you forward, down, forward, right? So it's a quarter circle and then down and forward. Quarter circle, down, quarter circle, down, forward. So it's just two button sequences. I was like, wait, so that means I can just... I was like, well, I could be buffering that easily. For comparison, for me to buffer supers before, I'd either have to do this, which is inaccurate and way slower, and also way more tedious on my hands. So I'm lifting and raising my fingers while keeping my wrist position relatively still. This, I'm pulsating my wrists, like a piano player would. You know what I mean? I'm not wiggling my fingers around and shearing the tendons of my hand. I'm pulsating my wrist, and it's so much more ergonomic and efficient. I was like, what am I doing? And then, same thing for the other direction, right? It's a little bit less precise going back, but it's the same idea. And I was like, wait, what the fuck have I, reacting to DIs with this is gonna be so much easier. And then the kicker is, my issue was doing the standing button. It's the same thing. Hold on, I do gotta warm up with it. Hold on. My brain hasn't totally remembered this input. There we go. I promise you it's easy. It's just very unintuitive for me, but it's so easy when I get into the flow of it. Wait, hold on, why am I forgetting it? There it is. So anyways, you can see once this is memorized, this is super good, and you can do it in both directions. So you can do things like, it's that easy. To do that before with the regular SOCD left-right input, you can do it because you would leverage the input buffer. I kind of had that okay on this side. Doing quarter circle back, though, was kind of a pain for me. I can still do it here and there, but it's definitely a little bit less precise. And to do it from a singular button, I don't even think I could do this ever. I got it once. That wasn't a cancel, that was a link. So that made this combo so much easier for me to do. There you go, right there. And I'm using the jump SOCD DPs in the combo as well. Got it, second time. No, not close enough. But you get the idea, right? So I'm telling you, doing this with the traditional leverless input on player one side wasn't possible for me. I literally grinded for hours and hours, like almost double-digit hours, putting in work to be able to do that, and I just couldn't do it. And I thought maybe this wasn't for me. Like I just wasn't going to be able to do these types of combos, right? I just thought maybe I was going to have to be locked out of having fun, but no. Jump SOCD leverless to save the day. Still have to practice it. There you go. Just so much more ergonomic. So much more ergonomic. Less strenuous on the hands, and the only thing is you have to think about it, right? So like, if I'm gonna do this string, which is a very common string, but say you only have 1 bar of super or 2 bars of super or something like that, where you can't cancel a special into a level 3 and you need to kill them right then and there. Like I can't do this into a super because I don't have any dried meter, I'm in burnout, and I want to kill them right then. What you want to do is do these lights into super, but doing that confirm traditionally can be pretty strenuous. Or like level 2, I would often miss level 2s in clutch situations like this. Like that would be pretty tough for me on the fly, right? But doing this string where you start off doing the jabs normal, but then the third jab, do the SOCD jab while holding down, and then start your super input. What is it? That. I still haven't completely memorized it where I can do it without thinking, which is the downside to it. You have to think a lot more. Like now I have to do, when I do my standing jabs, I'm gonna want to do them by holding down and then pressing up and jab now, right? Like it's a whole different input style, which would give me access to super easy supers to end the clutch, you know, get those kind of kills. So you have to remember the code to dial and then change your input structure, because normally I wouldn't do that. I would just press jab by pressing jab, right? But this means this is another thing to think about, another way to alter your input scheme. So it's just like adding more to your mental stack, but in the end, if you can master all these inputs in the context of when to use them, you have access to so much more. And I'm thrilled to be able to do Ed's level 2 combos now. Like I was just completely locked out of doing those before having this input available to me. So what does that leave in terms of like the pros and the cons of incorporating jump SOCD supers into your game plan? Well, it's not that complex. It's vastly more ergonomic in my view, for my hands. Your mileage may vary, and it also, you know, depends on the context, right? Depends on what your previous input was or what you're aiming to already do. So it's faster in most contexts, in my opinion, right? I think the buffering in neutral is faster, reactions with it are faster, and for doing it for buffering behind normals, it's so much superior. Like I was not able to do standing light punch whiff into level 2 accurately on the left side on leverless. I could probably do it on stick, but leverless, that was actually worse for me. So this took something that was actually worse for me on leverless compared to stick, and then made it better than what I could do on stick. So this is actually getting the cheat box unlocked, like everyone talks. I wasn't cheating. I was making a lot of things harder for myself by using leverless. And this is definitely making it. The hard part is it's still more difficult in one way, which is you have to think a lot more and internalize a lot more options, because there's 30 ways to input any one special move or super. So it's going to depend on the situation and the context for what you're going to want to use. So it's going to take a bit of practice to familiarize yourself with not only the physical input, but when to utilize them as well, and when to prime yourself to do them. Knowing when to use SOCD jab to prime myself to do the jump SOCD super, for example, that's going to take some training. To be ready to do it on the fly and incorporate that input into my gameplay, it's going to take some training. So it's going to take a bit of practice to internalize all the options you have, for sure. Whereas on arcade stick, or like with your one, you don't have to think about it as much. You just risk not getting your super in time or being a little sloppier with your inputs, right? So this is much more ergonomic for me in a lot of situations, and I think will improve my execution and gameplay, especially for DI reactions to super, light confirms to super, buffer super and combos behind whiff normals, things of that nature. I think it'll definitely improve execution over time once it's totally seeped into my brain, but it'll just take, you know, some time to achieve that. But I'm just thrilled to say that I will be able to finally land a cool level 2 Ed combo in a real match. That is my goal. And that's all I had for this video. Let me know what you think about this leverless jump SOCD trick. It's not new. It's just something that I haven't incorporated and didn't really open my eyes to until now. So have you ever thought about this technique? What do you think about leverless? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.